Okay, so recently there's been a lot of names that come out in connection with Jeffrey Epstein, like powerful business moguls, billionaires, royal family, Prince Andrew. I'll talk about him in a little bit. There's political figures, people in Hollywood. It's all coming out. One thing that I came across while looking into this story of all these folks coming out is a story that just came out and was published by Insider just a few hours ago. It's about astronaut John Glenn. Now, you know me. You know I don't believe a word that NASA has to say or anybody in connection to NASA. So I just had to go ahead and do a quick video on this one. So let's get into it. This article from the Insider: John Glenn was a passenger on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet in 1996 according to unsealed flight records. That came out August 9th, 2019. And there's old John Glenn. Former U.S. Senator from Ohio and NASA astronaut John Glenn once flew on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet. He joins the list of other famous people to have once been a passenger on what's been dubbed the Lolita Express. Alan Dershowitz was on the same flight, along with Epstein himself. They were flying to Leslie Wexner's 59th birthday party in Ohio, Dershowitz told Insider. Now, Leslie Wexner, real quick, and this is going to come across a little bit later. Leslie Wexner, he's the CEO of Bath and Body Works and the billionaire behind Victoria's Secret. And he's been tight with Jeffrey Epstein. It's alleged that he's the one who was basically financing Epstein's operation in the early stages, to where Epstein was able to build up his whole exploitation empire on his own. So Wexner was kind of like his angel investor in the early stages. Former United States Senator and NASA astronaut John Glenn flew on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet in 1996, according to newly released flight logs from the mid-1990s. The flight logs belong to a larger set of documents unsealed today in a years-long court battle between Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of Epstein's accusers, and Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite and Epstein's alleged madam of Epstein. It's a little redundant there. Anyway, in 2015, Giuffre filed a defamation lawsuit against Maxwell, who had accused Giuffre of lying about Epstein's abuse of Maxwell's role in recruiting women on his behalf. So Maxwell acted as the madam, like she was the recruiter to go get these little girls in that whole situation. And there was another article I read over said she's an ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein anyway. But who knows what kind of weird relationships these people had, you know. One entry in the flight logs on September 8, 1986 shows that Glenn, Epstein, and Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz flew on Epstein's jet from Ronald Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. to Port Columbus International Airport in Ohio. The airport's name was changed to John Glenn Columbus International Airport after the senator's death in 2016. Dershowitz, who defended Epstein a decade later against sex trafficking charges in Florida, confirmed to Insider that Glenn was on the flight. He said the three were flying to a dinner Leslie Wexner held for his 59th birthday. Dershowitz described the same party to New York Magazine last month. Glenn, who represented Ohio in the Senate between 1974 and 1999, didn't speak much during the dinner, Dershowitz said. He talked about politics. He talked about Wexner's stuff that he wanted to do with his charity in Ohio. And here's that flight log there, and here's where you can see clearly John Glenn and Alan Dershowitz. There it is right there. All right. Epstein has hosted a number of powerful people on his private jets, including President Donald Trump and President Bill Clinton, as well as celebrities like Naomi Campbell, Courtney Love, and Kevin Spacey, who also got into a little bit of trouble. Actually, a young man now came out saying that Kevin Spacey was inappropriate with him when he was a lot younger. It's some sick circles these people run in. According to Dershowitz, Wexner had a small group of people over for his birthday party, which included former Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres and an executive at the Sotheby's auction house. Dershowitz said the dinner was the first time he met Wexner and that everyone else there knew him already, including Glenn. I don't think John Glenn knew Leslie Wexner. Remember, he was the senator from Ohio, he said, and Leslie Wexner is probably the richest man in Ohio. End quote. Epstein was close to Wexner since the mid-1980s until around 2007, and largely enriched himself by attaching himself to Wexner's finances. This week, Wexner said Epstein deceived him and misappropriated vast sums of money. Funny that he didn't figure that out until just recently, or he wasn't willing to say so. But this article is in connection to that statement that he made just last week. But yeah, these people. After Wexner's birthday party, Glenn went to his home in Ohio while Dershowitz flew on Epstein's plane back to his own home in Boston. Dershowitz said, Epstein pleaded not guilty to the federal sex trafficking charges he's currently facing in New York. There's no evidence Glenn was involved in Epstein's alleged sex trafficking in his current case or in the case where he pleaded guilty in 2008. Alright, I'll leave a link in the description for this article. But I'd like to know what you think about that, because we in the community of people who are awake to the nonsense of the world, or given the fun title conspiracy theorists, we see things a little differently and have come to a conclusion that if you're kind of hanging out with somebody, then you're probably going to be hanging out with people that are like-minded individuals. The whole birds of a feather flock together thing, the whole guilt by association aspect. And I mean, it just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for a lot of these people to say, yeah, we hung out quite often and I flew on his jet and I was at his mansion and I did all this, but I had no idea that he was into this other stuff. Like the testimony from Virginia Roberts, she said that it's pretty easy to see that, I mean, there was like blatant evidence that Jeffrey Epstein had some pretty inappropriate situations going on with minors, and there were pictures all in his home. There were young girls in and out all the time, and it's pretty hard to miss that message if a fraction of what's come out is true. So for John Glenn to say that he had no idea what was going on, I'm really not buying that. And then, you know, along the lines of this whole situation with Epstein, another thing I wanted to hit on was this situation with Prince Andrew. Now, I was thinking that being that Prince Andrew has been tied to Epstein for so long, and is now like under serious scrutiny for that, even to the point of having events canceled. You know, I'm wondering what the climate's like in the UK. Now, I'm not going to read this article. I can leave a link in the description for it. But just recently, Prince Andrew had one of his events canceled because he was tied to Jeffrey Epstein. And, you know, some pretty damning evidence has come out against Prince Andrew. Like, right here, you know, as mentioned, Virginia Roberts, you know, mentioned in that one article, this is Prince Andrew right here, and she says in this picture that you see right here, and this is Ghislaine Maxwell, by the way, so that's the madam, and that's Prince Andrew, and then here's Virginia, and here's this guy's hand around her 17-year-old waist. Now, he can't look, if you know anything about body language, if you know the most basic thing about body language, you can look at these two and know that yeah, they look like they know each other pretty well, or have seen each other once or twice. I mean, for him to be all hugged up like that, look at him, his pelvis is facing towards her. I mean, he's got a big smile, even smiling with his eyes here, and everybody just looks like they're having a good old time. So he can't say that he didn't know this girl and that there might have very well been something a little inappropriate going on here. But anyway, um, I mean, but here's the thing. He's under scrutiny right now, and the royal family is kind of getting the death glare from the population, I believe. I would be kind of paranoid of the royal family, or at least the most, I'm thinking, honestly, that the most indoctrinated novice as far as looking into anything that's alternative from the main story. And the main story is that, everybody that's in a position of authority is upright and, worthy of your respect and admiration. The royal family should probably be under the hot light right now because, this is like echoes from the past. The prince, part of the royal family, being connected to somebody that turns out to be a sick bastard like Jeffrey Epstein. He was a registered sex offender. He pled not guilty, but he still had to register as a sex offender. He still did 18 months, sorta, if you even look into that. But even after all that had taken place, Prince Andrew was still going to go hang out with Epstein. And I mean, that can't look good for the royal family. That, in my mind, brought me back to the whole idea of Jimmy Savile. Now, who was Jimmy Savile? Let's read up a little bit about Jimmy Savile here. Okay, so Jimmy Savile was an English media personality who was well known in the UK for his eccentricities, and at the time of his death was generally respected for his charitable work. He was knighted in 1990. In late 2012, almost a year after his death, reports surfaced indicating that Savile had committed sexual abuse throughout his 50-year career, his alleged victims ranging from prepubescent girls and boys to adults. By 11 October 2012, allegations had been made to 13 British police forces, which led to the setting up of inquiries into practices at the BBC and within the National Health Service. On 19 October, London's Metropolitan Police Service launched a formal criminal investigation, Operation U-Tree, into historic allegations of child sexual abuse by Savile and other individuals, some still living, for over 4 decades. Over 40 years, this guy was out abusing children and all that. Knowing that about this guy, and I mean, there's been other stories about him spending a lot of time at a hospital and having sex with corpses, necrophilia. Yeah, like he was into that type of stuff. But yet, as sick as he is, why is he all hanging out with Prince Andrew or Prince Charles? This is like the same stuff. Look, here they are. Look like they're having a good old time, doesn't it? Look like he's just tickled pink over here, isn't he? Look, there he is, Prince Charles, Jimmy Savile, hanging out. Got his Oakleys on. Isn't that cool? Huh? And look, here's an old picture of those two. Okay? Look, they were at this for years. They've been tight for a long time. Savile and Prince Charles there. Okay, this is obviously an older photo. And I mean, these guys have known each other for a long time, given that side profile. They look pretty young. So they've known each other for a long time. But if I were in the UK, I would be wondering, what's up with the royal family? And why are they always hanging out with pedophiles? That's just me. I'm just kind of paranoid like that. I ask questions like that. If I were over there, that'd be something I'd be wondering. But I'm not in the UK, so I'm, just saying. Anyway, just wanted to make this video real quick. I'll go ahead and get this thing loaded. Leave links in the description to these articles and all of that. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I mean, John Glenn, isn't that a trip? That looks like another black eye for NASA, but, it's a good day to be a flat earther or somebody that doesn't even believe NASA, as far as you can throw a grown man. But, yeah, let me know what you think about that situation. Let me know what you think about this whole situation with Prince Andrew and Epstein. and the thoughts that you would be having if you were still in the UK or if you lived in the UK. And if you are in the UK, feel free to post your thoughts about what's going on. I'd like to know what you all think over there. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short. As always, be good to each other. Take care of yourself. Stay flat. I'll see you next time. Thank you.